Hi everybody, this is Oksana, and today we're going to wrap a cabochon, and we're going to wrap it with one piece of round wire. I wanted to make a tutorial that uses round wire because that's more easily accessible. It's easier for people to find than square wire and other fancy shapes, and also because it only uses one piece, it's more beginner friendly. It is still a little tricky, so I don't want to call it like super beginner tutorial. It's just hard to hold the stone in place basically as you do the wire around it. It's hard to keep it like super even and symmetrical, I guess. But with some practice, then I think that a beginner could do this. And it is harder than using a bead, though, because it is a cabochon, but I still wanted to do, something like this that was good for beginners that uses a cabochon, because I know a lot of people prefer to use cabochons over beads, or, they might have cabochons and, rather than beads. So anyways, as always, all the information will be listed below the video, such as, how long the wire is, the gauge and everything, and the size of the stone. I'm going to say it in the video as well, but, just so you don't have to remember it or write it down or anything, I will write it all under the video. And so if you want to see how to make this pendant, just keep watching. I have here one 22-inch piece of round, dead soft copper wire that is 20 gauge. And then I have a goldstone cabochon that is a teardrop shape that is 1 1/4 inches tall. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to fold it roughly in half, just so I can figure out where the middle of the wire is. And you don't have to actually fold it, like don't make a bend in it, but just so we know where to put our cabochon. And then I'm going to place my cabochon on top of the wire, kind of like so the wire is going through the middle of it, but on the back. Okay, just like that. And just make sure it's even, that it's not like tilted or anything, that it's just going straight across evenly, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the wire onto the front. So from back to front, kind of bend it forward. The trickiest part to this is just to not have everything move on you. So just holding everything, like you're gonna wanna wish that you had an extra hand helping you out. But what you're gonna do next is you're gonna cross, you're gonna look to make sure that it's not crooked, that it's kind of, the cross is nice and centered like this, and then you are going to bend the wire to the back. Again, just trying to hold everything in place so that nothing changes on you. And then here in the back looks like this. I'm going to put my thumb on the little X, and I'm going to just kind of hold it still here because I don't want to move it. But I'm going to move these two wires kind of closer together, and then as they reach the top here, I'm going to cross them over, and I'm going to start to twist them. Now, twisting two wires together, you might want to practice if you've never done it before, because what can happen is one wire can start to wrap around the other instead of them twisting nice and evenly, and then it just doesn't look as good. The key, I think, at least for me, is to keep this nice, even little V as you twist. And that, for me, keeps the twist going nicely. And then just, if this ever moves out of place, I would just adjust it so that the V is nice and even, always. So I'm going to do this just for a minute here until it is tall enough to be your bail. Now it's up to you. This is going to be bent forward to form your bail. I don't know if you want like a small bail or a larger bail. That's up to you, but mine is going to be about this long. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend it forward. If you need to use some kind of tool to bend it around, that's totally fine. Just kind of bending it with my hand like this. Here's what it looks like from the front and from the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this wire from the front to the back right under this other wire that's there. See that? So this wire that's already there, I'm going to bend this one so it's kind of like right under it. And then here on the back, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to kind of bend it so that I can get it under this other wire. And let me grab my pliers here. What you may need to do is just gently lift this wire up ever so slightly with your pliers just to make enough room to work this wire through. Now you don't want to pull too hard right now because you don't want to just move everything out of place. You want to just gently and carefully pull this wire through, and we have this little bend where we bent it to the back. We want to kind of maintain that. We don't want to pull so hard that it just completely moves everything out of place. So here's what it looks like. And now I'm just going to bring that wire so it's going under and just across. Move it out of my way, just like this. Okay, and now here on this side, same thing. So I'm just going to lift up just a little so that this can fit under, and just working this through, just pulling it through. Just kind of slow and careful, a little bit at a time. Now you want to look to make sure it looks even. So as you can see, mine does not look even because this part obviously got pulled a little tighter than the other. So I'm just going to adjust it. Okay, just going to adjust it and make sure that from the front, this is looking nice and even. See how this is a little bit of smaller space here, and here this almost like curves in a different way. So what I'm going to try and do is just make that a little more even so that from the front it'll look more symmetrical. Okay, so once you're satisfied with the symmetry of everything, go ahead and take these wires that you brought to the back and fold them over to the front. So now they're just kind of sticking out the front here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them now back to the back and then I'm going to use my pliers just to kind of tighten that up a little. So here's what it looks like. So here on the back, I'm going to take both of those wires that are kind of coming down. And our back does look, you know, like it has a lot going on here. You can kind of mess around with it, get it, you know, a little more symmetrical so it looks a little prettier. But this is a basic kind of pendant, and I think it's great for practice. I don't think you really have to worry about your backs too much at this point, as long as there's no, you know, wires sticking out to get caught on your clothing. And I don't think it's a big deal that the back isn't, you know, as pretty as the front, especially, you know, for beginners. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these wires that are going down the back now of the pendant. We're going to bring them down to the bottom to where these wires are here. And we're gonna flip it to the front. We're gonna bring them this way, just kind of in an even way near these wires. And what I'm gonna do now, I'll do one wire at a time so you can kind of see more clearly. I want to wrap this wire around the wire that is already there. So I cut it. I made this little curve and I cut it kind of roughly here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to fit this underneath. And if you have trouble, just grab that wire and lift it a little bit just to create that space. So for me, this loop looks like it's a little large. Like I could have cut it a little smaller. So it's better to just have it be bigger than, you know, have it be too small. So I was being conservative, but now I think I can afford to remove a little piece and make this loop a little smaller, because I want it to be nice and tight as well. So now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to close up that loop, and it is now smaller and it sits, you know, tighter to the stone. Here's what that looks like. And if you can see the gap here in the spacing on this other wire up here, you can press it down a little with your pliers, and that should make it a little better there. And now we just have to do the same thing on this side. I'm just trying to make it look symmetrical so the spacing is the same. And again, just kind of lifting this up the tiniest bit and tucking this wire under it, making a little loop. And then just closing that loop up. Alright, so that looks even to me. Let me just adjust the very top here, just to make sure that is nice and even looking as well. But that is pretty much it. That is this little diamond shape pendant. And thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. I'll see you next time. Bye.